Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
I'm Cooper Burke here for Combat Sports UK with the European Strawweight IMMAF champion, Kian McCarton. Kian, how are you?
Good, bro. Thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. When Frank called me up and said, he wanted to get me in touch with you, I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So you fought this weekend at Cage Legacy, and you
Yeah.
obviously won. How did it feel to pick up a pretty dominant decision win and start the year off on the right foot?
Yeah, good, yeah. It was a good, hard, tough fight. I knew it was going to be a hard fight against Henry. He's undefeated, and he wanted it just as much as I do. So it's always sweet to get that win, and that decision win always feels that little bit sweeter on the night as well when you know it was a hard, tough fight and you had to dog it out in times. So I feel good now, but back to normality now and over the win.
Yeah, absolutely. How does it feel competing with those shin pads on? Does it negate the calf kick and kind of change the complexion of the fight?
Yeah, in IMMAF competition, like over here in Ireland, we don't have to wear the shin pads at all. It's only at the IMMAF competitions, but yeah, it definitely it makes a difference. Like I'm not much of a striker, so it doesn't bother me too much. But even on the ground, they can get in your way, especially if they're a little bit bigger or you need them nearly skin tight on you. And but still, you feel the difference. You feel like there's an extra bit of leeway in your way or something.
Yeah, so it makes it hard to kind of pass in the guard and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they get stuck in awkward positions, and there's times where you have to pull a bit more than you should. Like if it's like skin on skin and slick with a little bit of sweat, it helps. But with them shin pads, you have a bit more pull to you.
Have you learned to use that to your advantage to prevent transitions? Does it work in your favor like that?
Yeah, it helps with it. It definitely helps with triangles. Anyway, there's a bit more of a grip in a triangle, I feel. Like you're nearly grabbing the shin pad without grabbing the shin pad, like, because the grip is there. As I said, the sweat from the shin on shin isn't there as much, especially in the early rounds. So that grip of the shin pad might help that a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You started off 0-3 in your amateur career, but what did you do to right the ship and get firing on all cylinders?
I just stayed to it. I've always trusted my ability and everything I've always done, and I've trusted the people I have around me. So and I knew I was taking way bigger risks than anyone else probably at the amateur level or anyone still now. Like a lot of people are afraid to take risks, but I never cared about my record. Still don't care about my record. Not amateur. I just want to fight anyone, and whoever thinks they're the best, I want to fight them and prove that I'm better than them. So I just stuck to it, I have a good solid circle around me, a lot of good people around me that know what they're doing, and they've been in the game a lot longer than me. So I've listened to them, and they've always trusted my ability. So I've just day by day, the sun always rises the next day. So I just got up and got after it, and never cared about the record itself, just because I knew inevitably I was gonna get good, and I'm only gonna get better, and I still am getting better. So yeah.
Yeah. Is there anyone in particular that's in your circle that's really helped you along the way?
Yeah, like obviously head coach John Kavanagh,
Yeah, of course.
when John speaks, you listen because he's a man who's been there. He's been at the top level. He's been through all the amateurs already. He still comes through with all of us. Like you seen there, he's in my corner the weekend, and then he might next weekend be a main event in a UFC card somewhere in America or off with Connor. So when someone who's been there and done that as a coach, and they're telling you to trust in your ability and just get up and get over it, you do it because you know it's going to work. And I have a lot of strong training partners around me, a lot of mentally strong people who've been through a lot worse than I've been through. And little small things they take off that, like Richie Smullen, he's a big help to me as well with everything training, like comes with the advice, and then like all the lads I train with as well who do it every day and do it on the big shows, PFL, Bellator, UFC, big shows in Ireland, amateur, pro, everything, you know. So surrounded with very good people and even better athletes. So I can't complain.
Yeah. What is the biggest thing you've learned? You're training with some of the best guys out of that gym in Europe, I would say. What's the biggest lesson that you've taken away from your time at SBG?
Uh, that like to stick to it, itness, I call it. Like just just like you said there, like when I was losing and when I had a few losses, just staying with it, trusting the process, and always believing in yourself, believing in your ability, and believing that like you're gonna show your worth. And once you keep working, you're no point in lying down and crying about it because you have a few losses, and get up and get over it and get on to the next one. Just like I always will do and I always have done. I feel like that's a very big thing that everyone in SPG and everyone here has taught me. Like just stick to yourself and never give up on yourself, and you're always gonna come out on top, prosper.
Yeah. How did it feel to get your hand raised and become the strawweight European amateur champion? I mean, can't beat that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like obviously, I love fighting. I'd fight on every show if I could, but I feel like there's that little bit more sweetness to it when you represent your country. And I'm a very proud person, and I feel like a lot of Irish people are even that bit more prouder to represent their country just because the way we are. And but yeah, like I competed at a few IMMAFs before and didn't come out on the right end of it. Didn't get the win, and then to represent your country at the highest level against the highest level of someone else in a different country is it's a beautiful feeling, and it's definitely a memory I'll never forget. As far as as long as I live and as long as I fight for, the first gold medal I've ever won for Ireland, and the feeling of pride you get, and the feeling everyone getting behind you in your country, and everyone getting behind you, like friends, family in the gym. It's some feeling. I don't really know how to describe it. I never have been able to describe it, but it's a day I'll never forget anyway. I know that.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a wonderful feeling. So you fight at 115 pounds. That's not a typical weight class, as far as the men's division goes. Um, is that a conscious decision? Or are you still trying to find a weight class that fits you?
Yeah, so my first two IMMAF competitions are at flyweight, which like I wasn't really cutting weight for. I wasn't really like I was on a diet, but like not the way I should have been, you know. But now I'm that little bit bigger. I feel like I fight at flyweight in Ireland, and I fight over here at Ireland at flyweight, and internationally at strawweight. But I feel like if I wanted to, I could do flyweight as well as I could strawweight. But I knew strawweight was like something I could get to, and something I could not win easier, but something I could feel more confident in, and I could work harder towards to cut the weight. So we'll see whether I stay at strawweight for much longer, or will I go up to flyweight as well and try to do what I done at strawweight there. Like I'd love to do that as well. It's just a decision I have to make. But for now, it's just really like getting naturally bigger, naturally stronger. I feel just as strong at flyweight as I do at strawweight. So we'll see.
Yeah, certainly. How do you feel about turning professional? I don't know if that's been in the cards for you, or what does turning professional look like for you?
Yeah, well, ideally in an ideal world, touch wood, please God, like next year I'd love to go pro. If I get everything that I want to get ticked off this year, I want to get enough fight. I'd love to fight 10 times this year, and the Europeans and the worlds as well. I'd love to get them out of the way. And next year I'd love to look at going pro, like but as I said, please God, one fight at a time for now. And we'll worry about it when we come to the end of the year, and I look back and see if I'm happy with how many fights I've had. Not about the record itself, but just about if I feel like my experience is built up right, and then I'll definitely look to go pro. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say brought you on this path to fighting? Like, what got you interested in, and what made you want to be a fighter?
Eh, I don't know. I was always good at fighting growing up. Like even when I wasn't training, I was always good at fighting when I was younger. And my dad was a big fan of boxing, so I started boxing at a young age. He put me into boxing, and then I was in love with fighting. And normal young fella like growing up, I was fighting all the time and mess fighting, real fighting. So and then when Connor blew up when in Ireland, I was like, it's only right. Like I was only out of boxing, maybe I'd only left boxing 6 months or so, and I still had the itch to fight, so I joined SBG, and I haven't looked back since. And I was 13 at the time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. Do you feel like you've um put a plan in place to do the right things going forward? Now that you've got some experience under your belt, you've competed on the highest stage and you've won on the highest stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like I have every fighter knows themselves the best way. Like so, that's why I've always taken everything what people said, like how to train or how to fight and all that. But then in the back of your head, you always know the way you should do it, your plan. So I have everything marked out in my own head and what I want, and I know what to do and how to train, like how many times to train, how hard, whatever, how many fights to have, such and such. So yeah, I have a very rough plan, and I'll just take it day by day. That's all I ever do. I don't look too ahead of man. I don't look past anybody, and I just wake up every day and do the same thing. Just get after.
Yeah. In between you're going back, you just fought and you're gonna get back into training again. Is there anything specific that you and your camp want to work on for this next camp and up to your next fight?
Yeah, no, I just want to keep getting sharp everywhere, all around. Like my cardio is always up to scratch. I never take a day off. I never let myself get out of shape, nothing like that. Like I live and breathe fighting, and I live and breathe training. Whether I have a fight or I don't have a fight, I'm in the gym like 5 6 days a week. So just I want to stay sharp with the hands. I want to stay sharp with the grappling all round. And my MMA spars, keep them in, keep my sprint sessions in. Just stay on top of everything. It's not just about the next fight for me. It's about like longevity in this, and I really want to make a career out of it. Like I said the other day after my fight, I really like. I'm not just in this. I'm not just in this for the ticker or in this to say like, oh, I had a few fights there when I was younger. Like I wanna go all the way, and I want to be the best I can be and the best in the world. So it's not just for the next fight. It's for life.
Yeah, of course. Have there been any fights in particular that you have watched, whether it be growing up or in the past couple of years that you've taken a liking to, or like has really inspired you as a fighter?
Yeah, yeah. Well, a person in like obviously Connor started the whole thing in Ireland for all of us. Like so, we all got a big hype off that, and we were all like super fans of McGregor. And then the more I looked into fighting, the more I fell in love with fighting, and the more fights and fighters I fell in love with. And I've always been a big fan of boxing. So like I always think, but when I think back of like a fight that really wowed me as a kid that I watched back, my dad got me to watch. It was a Toro Gotti against Mickey Ward, Irish Mickey Ward. They had I think they had 2 or 3 fights, but every single one of them were bangers. So I've always fell in love. I've always been in love with like wars and boxing wars, and then like in MMA, obviously the Diaz McGregor fights. The second one is up there. The whole build up for the Diaz Khabib fight or the McGregor Khabib fight, sorry. And like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Max Holloway, big fan of TJ Dillashaw when he was in. And yeah, like I'm in love with styles. Like styles make fights, I feel, and people who put on good performances and perform at the highest level. That's what I'm obsessed with, really.
Yeah, I mean, you say you're obsessed with it. Uh, would you consider yourself, could you ever see yourself becoming a sort of a guy who wants to stand and bang no matter what, or brawl it out? or is that just not in the cards for you?
Yeah, no, yeah, of course, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, we all want to be smart, especially in the amateur game. We want to be smart and save the heads for as long as we can. But when it comes to getting in one of them scraps, yeah, standing there and just letting it all go. Like, I know when it's gonna have to come, you best believe I'm gonna stand there, bite down, and go for it. Just like any other Irish man would, just stand there and let the hands fly and see who lasts longer. And I can guarantee that I'll be standing there before whoever else is standing there in front of me.
Yeah, absolutely. One last question. What should we come to expect from you in this upcoming calendar year?
Yeah, activity. Be as active as I can. I think I've said that in like the Irish scene now. After my fight there on Saturday, I said that I want to be active as possible. I want to have 10 fights. I want to fight anyone who thinks they're the best, and to prove that I'm better than them. I want to. It's not about belts or and like that for me. I just want to prove if he thinks he's better than me, I want to prove I'm better than him. Um, and yeah, a lot of dominant performances as well. I want to start putting a mark on everybody that I fight and really get like hunting for the finish and going for it, digging deep like you said there, doing all the crazy submissions that you go for, like just being someone to watch. That's what I want to be, and I want to really prove this year. I want this year to be out and everyone to say, shit. He really went and done what he said he was going to do this year at amateur, and now he's on to bigger and better things and wherever he goes in pro.
Yeah, I mean, you said it.
Yeah,
Everybody, this is Kian. He just fought last week. We should see him fight. Like he said, he wants to fight 10 times later this summer. Um, Gonna see you in Europe soon, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time and best of luck going forward.
Perfect.